All right, so our number one is or number 17, but really number one, the area of the top face of a cube is 9 square meters. What is the volume of the cube? So if you want to find the area, it is length times width. So we found that by 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. And if the base of the cube is 3 times 3, that means all three edges are equal to 3. So as you can see right here, we did that, and that's how we got our answer. So 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And 9 times 3 is equal to 27, so the volume of the cube would be 27 square meters. So on number 2 or 18, the length of each edge of a cube is x centimeters long. If x is an integer, why can't the volume of the cube be equal to 15 centimeters cubed? So I drew the cube here, as you can see, the cube right here. And we'll put x as all three edge lengths. And it's pretty self-explanatory if you just do, my explanation was because 15 is not a perfect cube, no number can be multiplied 3 times by itself to get 15. So that's the simple answer for number 2 or 18. So on number 19, it says, yesterday there would be milligrams of bacteria in the lab experiment. Today there will be b squared milligrams of bacteria. If there are 400 milligrams today, how many milligrams of bacteria were there yesterday? So we got 20 as our answer. And the way we got our answer was, so the inverse operation of the exponent, or squaring a number, is the square root. So we did b to the second power. We knew that was equal to 400. So we did, as you can see right here, we did b to the second power to the square root. And if you do, since they're inverse operations, you would cross out the square root symbol and the exponent, which would leave you to 20. So that's how we figured out how day 1 was equal to 20. And for the second part, it says Ava chose B as a correct answer. How did she get that answer? All she did was she divided 400 by 2. But when you're dealing with exponents, you cannot divide a number by 2 because you are multiplying the number by itself. You're multiplying that number by itself.
For 1, we got A because 4 times 4 equals 16. And since it's cubed, we have to add another 4, so 16 times 4 equals 64. And for number 2, we got D because 15 times 15 equals 225, and we're squaring it.
Okay, for number 3, we are going to use inverse operations to solve here. They've given you an answer box, and so we use the inverse of squaring there for A, which would be finding the square root. We use that for both the numerator and denominator. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. We use finding the cube root for B. The cube root of 27 is 3. The cube root of 64 is 4. Back to square root for C. The square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 64 is 8. And then back to cube root on D, the cube root of 1 is 1. The cube root of 8 is 2. That's for number 3 on page 20. And here's your explanation for number 4 on page 21. You've got an answer box there. You've got a square root symbol and an open box wanting an equivalent statement, and then you have a cube root symbol and an open box wanting a cube root equivalence there. So if we look at our answer choices for options, we know that we have to have a larger number under the square root symbol than we do the open box on the right. So we should know by now that the square root of 36 is 6. And if you don't know that the square root of 1 million is 100, you can see that workout on the side there. 100 times 100 gives you 10,000, and then times another 100, which gives you 1 million. So square root versus cube root is the difference there. So there are your answers for number 4 on page 21.
If x is a positive integer, is the square root of 1 over x squared greater, less than, or equal to the cube root of 1 over x cubed? Then we would cancel out the square root and then the square and the cube root. We would cancel both of those out because they're inverse operations. That would leave us with 1 over x and 1 over x. So that would be equal. If given the square root of x equals 4, how would we find the value of x? We would do the inverse of square rooting, which is squaring. So we would cancel out these the square rooting and squaring right here, and we would do 4 squared, and 4 times 4 equals 16.